For over 80 years, one country has controlled the world's money. Not because they had the most gold, not because they had the best economy, but because the world had no choice. That country is the United States of America, and that currency is the US dollar. But in May 2026, something historic is happening. A bloc of nations representing nearly 48% of the world's population is building a new financial system. One backed not by government promises, but by gold. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not speculation. This is happening right now. Let's go back to 1944. World War II is ending. The world's leaders gather in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, and they make a deal. The US dollar will be the world's reserve currency. Every country would peg their money to the dollar. The dollar would be pegged to gold. Sounds fair, right? Then in 1971, President Nixon did something that changed history forever. He quietly ended the dollar's link to gold. Just like that, overnight, the world's reserve currency became backed by nothing. Just faith. Just trust. Just American power. And America used that power aggressively. When countries stepped out of line, sanctions. When nations tried to sell oil in other currencies, regime change. And when Russia dared to challenge NATO, America froze $300 billion in Russian central bank reserves, money that belonged to the Russian people, just seized it overnight. That $300 billion represented roughly 35% of Russia's entire GDP. Think about that. The largest sovereign reserve seizure since the gold standard era. Coordinated across the US Treasury, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, and SWIFT, all at once, against a G20 nation. And here's the darker reality. Over 60% of all countries currently under US sanctions are classified as economically disadvantaged nations. The dollar is not just a currency. It is a weapon. And it has been pointed again and again at the global south. The question every government started asking is simple. If they can do this to Russia, they can do it to anyone. And that fear, that completely justified fear, is what lit the fire under the new financial order we are watching being built today. BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. What started as 5 countries is now a global movement that no Western institution can ignore. As of 2026, BRICS has expanded to 10 full members, including Indonesia, the UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Iran, plus 9 official partner countries including Malaysia, Vietnam, Nigeria, and Kazakhstan. The numbers are staggering. 46% of the world's population lives inside BRICS nations. 37% of global GDP and growing. BRICS Plus nations collectively now hold over 6,000 tons of gold in their reserves. And at the 17th BRICS Summit held in Rio de Janeiro in July 2025, member nations formally agreed to build digital payment infrastructure and expand trade in local currencies. But the most powerful move came on October 31st, 2025, when BRICS quietly piloted something called the Unit, a digital trade settlement token, backed 40% by physical gold and 60% by a basket of BRICS national currencies. Not a promise, not a theory, a pilot already running. New Development Bank President Dilma Rousseff confirmed agreement in principle to use the unit as a settlement currency. In December 2025, the prototype was formally launched. And in February 2026, BRICS Sherpas gathered in New Delhi to prepare for the 18th summit scheduled for September 12th and 13th, where BRICS Pay, the cross-border payment system linking Russia's SPFS, China's CEPS, India's UPI, and Brazil's PIX, is targeted for full operational deployment. The dollar just got a real competitor. And the clock is ticking. Now let's talk about gold, because this is where it gets really truly remarkable. Gold entered 2026 trading above $5,000 per troy ounce for the first time in human history. In 2025 alone, gold surged 64%, setting over 50 new all-time highs within a single calendar year. And this is not retail investors chasing a trend. This is governments. Sovereign nations buying gold as a deliberate policy. In 2025, Central banks around the world added 1,237 tons of gold to their reserves, a figure that exceeds the total annual mine production of several mid-sized countries. The World Gold Council projects another 750 to 850 tons of central bank purchases in 2026 alone, representing roughly 20% of all gold mined globally in a single year, absorbed as a one-directional flow regardless of price. Russia, China, India, Turkey, and Poland have led the accumulation, but more than 40 central banks participated in 2025. Goldman Sachs has